Hi, welcome to Noumena, the only place that's reverse engineered the College Board. We're going to show you how to solve these problems very quickly with mathematical precision and with 100% confidence. That means you no longer have to rely on the answer key, but purely on the power of knowledge. The mind is a powerful tool, and we're going to show you how to use it. Here's how it's done. Question 15. Studies have suggested that eating nuts, almonds in particular, might help to lower blood cholesterol levels in humans and reducing the risk of heart disease by protecting the blood vessels. Okay, you guys know the drill. We're going to go through A, B, C, and D. We're going to look and test for errors associated with the underlined portions. But if we can't find any errors, then we know for certain that our answer is E. No error. So let's get started. A. Have suggested.
So let's take a look at A and do a subject-verb check. Remember, has is a singular form and have is the plural form. What's the subject to this verb? It will be studies. Studies is plural. So studies have suggested seems to make perfect sense. So we can confidently say that this answer choice contains no subject-verb error. Let's look at verb tense. Remember on the test, they're not asking you what tense is the best tense, but whether or not the sentence works. Whether or not the sentence works with the tense described. So in this case, studies have suggested, would that work? It certainly would. I don't see why it wouldn't.
Yeah, I agree. I think have suggested, it seems fine as the present perfect tense. Even though I think I understand what you mean, Anthony Simpson. You mean that if we maybe had the simple past suggested, would that be okay too?
I think so. I don't really see a problem there. Or had suggested.
Or had suggested.
It wouldn't really.
But those are unnecessary changes, right?
They're unnecessary because this tense is fine.
So
yeah, so we're good with verb tense here.
Okay, great. And
let's do a verb form check. And again, anytime you see a helping verb or a multi-verb, helping verb plus the main verb, you do need to do a verb form check. And the alternative verb form here would be suggesting. But if you were to use the present participle suggesting, in this case it would be have been suggesting. Studies have been suggesting that eating nuts. Again, that tense is unnecessary. We don't really need to make that change. So have suggested, the present perfect tense. And this tense really means that studies until now have suggested this. That means, many studies until now have suggested this, reinforcing the notion that the information given after the verb have suggested is most likely true.
Okay, great. So it looks like there are no errors with subject verb, no verb tense errors, and no verb form errors. So there are no errors in A. And we can go ahead and move along to B. Lower. Well, for B, we're going to test for comparison verb form? Is that right?
Some of you may think that this question or this answer choice B involves a comparison error or a comparison question, but it's not. If you look at the word to, you'll see that to is part of the infinitive to lower.
Ah, okay.
So to lower here is functioning as a verb, not an adjective in its comparative form. So, of course, we can use the word lower as an adjective in its comparative form in the sense, in this situation. For example, I received lower grades. In that example, lower is an adjective and it's comparing grades with some other grades. But in this case, it's functioning as a verb form, and it's in its infinitive form. So And this infinitive form seems to work out because we don't have the underline under to, and we know that to is part of this infinitive, so we really can't change this verb form.
So we don't, the verb form's okay, and this is not a comparison error or problem here, right?
No, it's not. So we can move on to C, I believe.
Okay, great. Let's move on to C. C, reducing. Reducing? Something looks odd about reducing. What do you think, Anthony Sonsini?
Yeah, let me just read the question again to get a better feel for what's going on. Studies have suggested that eating nuts, almonds in particular, might help to lower blood cholesterol levels in humans and reducing the risk of heart disease by protecting the blood vessels. Something does seem odd.
Well, what are we testing for?
Well, reducing looks like a verb form to me, so I guess we would have to test the verb form. And I see an and in front of reducing, so maybe parallel and verb forms?
Yeah, I think so. Parallel and verb forms. But we both thought something was odd about reducing. Have you figured it out yet?
Well, I know that anytime you see a coordinating conjunction, such as and, circled here, we're trying to join two equal things together. Is that right, Brian?
Yes, absolutely. When we have coordinated conjunctions, we're trying to join similar items in the sentence. Usually nouns with other nouns, verbs with other verbs, phrases and phrases, and sometimes clauses and clauses.
So you can either pair or create a series of similar grammatical components with this conjunction and.
Yes.
Okay, so what would be a good way to check to see if the and is actually pairing or creating a series of equal parts or equal components?
Well, a good way to check to make sure that their conjunctions are pairing the equal components is simply just look to the left and right. To the right of and, we have reducing.
Oh, I see. And that seems to be a present participle.
Yes, it's a present participle. So we should look for another present participle form before and.
I found eating. Doesn't that work? Eating nuts might help to lower blood cholesterol levels in humans?
Well, let's take a look. Eating nuts. Eating is functioning as a gerund.
It's actually functioning as a subject of the first or the that clause, right?
Oh, yeah, it is.
So eating nuts, and I'm going to get rid of everything in between the dashes, that eating nuts might help to lower blood cholesterol levels in humans. So if reducing were to be paired with that gerund, then this would also have to be functioning as a gerund and most likely the subject of a new clause.
Yes. But if we look ahead to the rest of our sentence, reducing the risk of heart disease by protecting the blood vessels, it isn't a complete clause. And if it were, we would have a problem. We'd have two independent clauses trying to be connected only by and, or coordinate conjunction, and that would result in a run-on sentence, which is a grammatical error. And we don't want that.
Right. So it seems like reducing here shouldn't function as a gerund, but rather match some other part of a word that came before the and.
Definitely. It looks like we have a parallel error here. It's either reducing is in the wrong verb form or something else in the sentence is in the wrong form. But we definitely have a parallel error here.
I say, how about might help to lower and help to reduce the risk of heart disease by protecting? Would that work?
Well, it looks like we can change something around there. Again, we pointed out earlier that to lower was our infinitive, was in our infinitive form. So we could possibly change one of these.
I don't think we can change B, so I think we would have to change C to reduce.
Yeah, I think we can change C to reduce. It looks like it would work. Might help to lower and to reduce
The risk of heart disease by protecting. That seems to work. So it seems like C clearly has an error, but I'm going to move on to D.
D, by protecting.
Again, some of you may be concerned about this verb form, but by oftentimes takes on the gerund, or by oftentimes takes on a gerund. By, the preposition by, oftentimes takes on a gerund, especially if the by phrase, the prepositional phrase beginning with by, explains about a method or a process or some way of doing something or allowing for something to happen.
Okay.
So in this case, what would by protecting the blood vessels bring about?
Well, let's take a look. By protecting the blood vessels, how about maybe reducing the risk of heart disease?
Oh, it seems like by protecting blood vessels, modifying reduce.
Oh, that's right. We changed our reduce and we thought that was an error. So yeah, it should be reduce. Reduce the risk of heart disease. How? By protecting the blood vessels. That makes sense.
So it seems like it's functioning as an adverb phrase.
Yeah, I agree.
Okay, so D seems to work.
So we found no errors in A, no error in B, no error in D, and we thought that there was an error in C.
So let's review C again.
Let's go back.
C, I'm going to circle C with confidence now. Why? Because reducing clearly is the wrong verb form. It should match to lower.
So again, it was that parallel error, right?
It was. So let's read the sentence again and with the correction.
The correction. So if we want to correct this, we would have to get rid of reducing and maybe to reduce?
To reduce. Now notice we put the parentheses around too. That just goes to show the power of the coordinating conjunction. Coordinating conjunctions are so powerful that you can actually get rid of the to in the infinitive. So it's understood. The to is understood. So let's read this sentence again. Studies have suggested that eating nuts, almonds in particular, might help to lower blood cholesterol levels in humans and reduce the risk of heart disease by protecting the blood vessels. This doesn't sound awkward at all now, does it?
I don't think so. It sounds great. Noumena, empowering mind.